just like a little clarification. Say like Lewis Airport, that's it's in Dave Oxley's district, and it's a upgrowing airport.
Mhm.
They built some real nice houses to the west. So if Lewis decided to add runways, and that would affect those houses, is that like you're talking about a balancing act?
Yep, yep.
So would the airplanes that might crash or the noise or whatever else, is that something that we're supposed to consider as a hardship on the balancing act side for the people saying they don't want the airport runways?
Well, I think what you'd have, just as an example in this situation, I'm sorry.
Just need a little more clarification.
Well, I think you're probably going to have experts come in and testify, right? You're going to have someone come in there and say, hey, if we don't have these other 2 runways added to it, there's going to be some major problems or issues, like you're saying, crashes. Versus if you're going to have on the other side, neighbors that are going to complain and say, we already have noise up the wazoo. It's just too uncontrolled. And if you add 2 more runways, it's going to make it even worse. There's your balancing test. It's going to matter. Well, that's just one of the 8 factors you're going to be considering. So yeah, that probably would something that would fall into that balancing. You'd have to take that into consideration, because I'm sure you're probably going to have experts on both sides. There's no one clear-cut definitive answer. It's just that these are some guidance that the courts use, because you're not going to have one clear-cut answer for all of these issues.
So the county board in essence becomes a judge and jury.
When you make these decisions, you should be thinking like that.
I mean, because if I lived there and they're going to put a runway more, I'd say, forget about it. You can't do it.
Yeah, that's,
And then they're going to say they need to make more money.
okay, so that,
So you follow what I'm talking about?
yeah, but
So
consider,
you're not giving me a clear, in other words, you're just saying it's a 50-50 and we got to just figure it out.
did you hear me say anything about making more money as one of the factors?
No,
There you go.
but I mean, what other reason could,
Well, the safety, they could come in here and make in a position or a point that says we need 2 more runways. Why? Why do you need 2 more? Well, it's a safety matter. So there is something that's going to benefit them.
I get it. I just wanted to make sure that what you're saying is that we're the ones that decide which way the balance goes.
Well, these are what the courts are going to look to make a determination as to what was decided here was proper, is what I'm telling.
Okay.
And there are cases out there, and I don't have them off the top of my head, but trust me, they're out there. I've seen them, that talks about that money, making more money, that's not a factor. And the courts don't give a hoot about that. That's not going to be a legit factor. There is what they call the highest and best use that they make. That argument is made, but that goes towards the use of that particular piece of property is going to be beneficial based on this highest and best use, and it's not going to do much harm to the community. So we think this is a legitimate and proper use. But you're not going to see a court say, we made our decision on this particular factor based on they made a claim and make a lot of money off of this.
But see, what I'm getting at is like, if you're going for a special use permit, I figured the airport's there first. So they're stuck,
That's,
so whatever happens, happens.
go
What
ahead.
you're saying is that's not the case, that if if we decide it's an extreme hardship, then we vote against it.
I think you've got to look to the factors and keep that in mind when you make your decisions. In other words, you won't go wrong if you look to these factors.
So it's not a matter of who was there first either.
I don't think that's going to be a controlling factor. Who was there first? Yeah.
That's kind of what I always went by, that factor. If it was there first, forget about it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go with the guy that was there first.
I don't think that's, I mean, unless Kevin, you disagree with me.
Well, what I was going to say is I don't know that this specific scenario is even really suited to the things Matt's talking about, because it's already zoned for an airport. Unless there's some sort of change, and I don't know, Brian, do we have different categories of airports?
Or need a special use permit for something out there.
And you're also going to have FAA probably weighing in on this. So it's probably not a great application to the thing that Matt's bringing up, because all the use is existing already in that case.
Because it may not be a special use permit that's being sought because of that factor. It's already
All right.
existing.
Thank you, Steve.
Use that. They gotta expand a trucking company wants to expand their surface, land that they have so they can put more trucks in.
Well, again, you
You know,
got,
so if that, you know, like, we have Cutler Trucking over in Homer. All right, if he wanted to, expand more on his land, he's been there for 40 years. So he's grandfathered in all his stuff. But if he wants to expand it, just because he's been there, it don't matter.
well, I think it depends on what they're seeking. If they're looking for an expansion that requires a special use permit, then yes, you're going to look to these factors. Yeah, but the fact that he's been there for a long time is going to lend credence to, this is an appropriate use there, right? It's been.
Yeah, so he's there ready, and he wants to expand, so you say, okay.
But
is-
I
your
think what you gotta look,
balancing act
I
thing-
think you gotta look now, is that expansion gonna have an effect on neighboring properties? Is it going to affect the values of, you know,
Yeah,
property?
there's a lot of
Would there-
homes right behind him.
Would there be a benefit that the community needs by his expansion? Or would it be detrimental to the people that live nearby?
That's kind of where I was getting at. What
All
are
of
they
those are
going-
things you consider. Yeah, I'll
Okay.
consider those.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Uh,
And then,
Mr. Guzman,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We do have a couple questions and just a reminder, everybody in their own district has probably a circumstance where they could,
My question to you is not anything you talked about yet. Prior to anything going to land use.
yeah,
I get calls from a developer, a house owner, you name it. They call me and there's lots of them. A lot of times I'll just tell them to email me stuff after I talk to them and I look at what they want to do. And then I send it to Brian. I mean, I send a lot of stuff to the county, you know, to Brian and, you know, I figured that's the best way to handle it, make them aware. But there's other times that I'll look at a project, someone will come to me and, you know, I don't want to use any for instances, but I'll have different people from not even my district call me and say, what do you think of this project? And they'll show me the project and I'll look at it and I'll tell them, yeah, it looks good. I don't see a problem with it. Sometimes I tell them I don't like it. There's a problem with this, this, and this, and this in my mind. And that's it. And then they have to determine themselves whether they want to move forward or not. Now, what is that? It's not a land use case. It's not even been presented. They didn't even go forward to do anything. They're just asking my opinion of what I think personally of their project. So am I supposed to tell them this may be in the future a project, so I can't talk to you?
I think that the matter is going to appear, if there's a chance,
Pardon me?
if there's a chance that what they're proposing is going to have to come before the county board for approval, and, you know, if it's not going to require you guys.
Well, they're basing their opinion whether they're going to move forward most of the time. Because I've told one for sure, I argued about it, and I argued on the county board about it, that, you know, you're going to be changing the zoning, and the zoning's bad. That's why I'm against it. It's not the project, it's the zoning. I'm not going to support it.
Well, now you're prejudging it, and so that's even worse than going out there and looking at the property. You've already given your vote on that, haven't you? By
Oh,
doing
that's,
it?
it was a storage place. You guys
Yeah,
remember that?
I remember.
We changed the zoning
Yeah.
from C2 to I1, and now we change it back, so it's a special use with C2.
Yeah,
But that place, you know, they came to me, I said, you know, I don't care about the storage part, I care about the zoning part.
yeah.
And then we argued back, they came back another time, and, you know, I told them to annex it to the village. And then, you know, so it's not always you're saying, yeah, do it, and it's a mix. Sometimes I tell them I don't like it, sometimes I tell them I like it. And I'm not basing it on anything else than when I'm looking at what they're showing me.
yeah.
So I'm judging it by myself before they go, and a lot of times when I tell them I don't like it, they don't even bother to come.
Well, you got to go back to what we talked about a moment ago. That's even, I think what you're doing by giving your opinion on as to how you're going to vote on it is, with all due respect, worse than going out to visit the site, because now not only have you gotten information about the site, you've given them what you told them what you're going to vote on, right? Whether you liked it or
I
not.
tell them I like what the project is, but it's not even part of anything yet.
Well, okay, so that's first part is given of your prejudging what your vote would be. I don't agree with, and I don't think that's
So
appropriate.
you, so
But
I
I
gotta
also
tell them the
think,
same thing. Can't talk about it.
yeah, well, I think if it's a matter that's going to likely appear before you, right, as a county board, same rules apply. Same rules apply. Something, hey, I appreciate you calling me, but with all due respect, this is a matter that's most likely going to appear for me because you're seeking a special use permit or a map amendment or a text amendment. And, the decision needs to be made based on the facts as presented at the public hearing. This is not the public hearing. This is a phone call. Were you going to present for you? Yeah. Okay.
Leader
I-
Richmond?
Question earlier about talking to somebody about a project, and you said that's a no-no. I'm asking Joe to ask the state's attorney for a written legal opinion about whether or not a county board member can meet with somebody and discuss a idea, because it's at the time when they call you, there's nothing else but an idea. It's just is this a good idea or a bad idea? If I tell them I think it's a good idea, don't mean I'm going to vote for it because I didn't hear the evidence from the public hearing. I just tell them I think, yeah, go ahead and move on it. I'm
And-
not telling them how I'm going to vote. I'm not saying anything other than I like the project. So in order to go forward with this, if you're going to say that, I want a written legal opinion. I never asked for that from you yet, but in the past I've asked for stuff, but this time it's important because everybody on this board got to be getting the same type of calls I'm getting. And if they don't talk to them, at least just talk to them and find out what they want. What the hell are we there for? So that's why I'm saying, I think that, you're going strictly by the law as you're interpreting it. So if you can show me a legal written opinion from the state's attorney that says you cannot talk about anything that's an idea with the constituent, because that's all that is when they call you and it hasn't gone to land use. There's no idea whether it's going to go to land use or not. They just want to get your opinion, whether you think it's a good thing or a bad thing. And you can't tell them what you think.
Gentlemen, is that something that you think you can draw up for Mr. Balich, or is it, do you have to separate it between a public hearing or a land use case versus any other case?
Perhaps if we got I think we need a little more than, so the question of whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. I may think that having another grocery store is a good thing because it makes my day easier to have a grocery store outside my neighborhood. That doesn't, there's a lot of factors here. So we need to know exactly the question that's being asked. So whatever is submitted to us, if that goes through your rules, we can address that as per the rule.
Okay, it sounds like they want a specific
Well,
question, Steve, and I don't know.
Very specific. If Chuck calls me up and says that he wants to build a ice skating ring on his property, and he says, "What do you think?" And then I look at it and I go, "I don't see a problem with it." I'm not saying I'm going to vote for it. I'm not saying I'm not going to vote for it. I'm just saying, looks like a good idea. The neighborhood needs one. I'm not even saying that. I'm just saying it looks like a good idea because I never say, well, the neighborhood needs it. They might, but I'm not. I'm just saying, okay, I think it's a good idea. So what in the heck are we there for if we can't tell a constituent that it's a good idea? Tell me. I mean, in other words, I'm supposed to tell everybody to go jump in the lake?
No, that's not been our advice at all. But I think that what I'm saying is reducing it to writing and then presenting it to leadership is important because you said two things that I think are completely different. I don't see anything wrong with it. Well, that can be interpreted with, I think it's legal. I think it's a good idea is a different thing. And when this all happens, and I'll just put it out there, you'll be sitting in a deposition and they'll say, well, Mr. Balich, didn't you say this was okay? And you'll say, well, what do you mean? Well, didn't you say you'd vote for this when you talk to the person? It muddies the record. That's all we're saying. And we're not.
But it's Kevin, this is pre even going to land use or any idea if it's going to
I
land
think-
use.
Well, and that's the point.
They're just
I want to
asking,
know-
should I move forward with it? Maybe.
Correct.
I'm not telling them I'm going to vote.
Reducing that to writing, what you're exactly asking us, is important for us to issue a written legal opinion. So if you want to present something to leadership through your county board rules, we will certainly address that question if it's brought to us. but we need that also reduced to writing so that we're not chasing a target.
Well,
And I want to put a final point here is we're not saying, and I keep going back to this, you have two roles here. You are elected officials. Absolutely. You have those things. And for, I don't know, 80% to 90% of your work, you are responding to constituents, you're taking meetings, you're doing those sort of things. The Constitution, not Matt, not anything else, has said in these things, you can only consider, and there's court cases abound about what you can consider. Matt and Kevin aren't telling you, or State's Attorney Glasgow is not telling you that you can't do your job. We're saying that a judge is going to go strictly by the law. That is, here's what the law is. We can show you what the case law says. And if your answer to that question is, how am I supposed to represent my district? The judge is going to say, well, that's not a LaSalle factor. If you're the only thing you're doing here is representing your district for whatever thing outside, that's going to cause you a problem. That's all Matt and I care about. We're not trying to do anything else other than to get to a situation where the judge says, and it's going to say at the end of the opinion, the state or the county board of Will County acted arbitrarily and capriciously in denying this zoning, or they should not have granted the zoning because they did not consider the relevant information.
Well, specifically, I would say that if you're not telling them how you're going to vote, you're just telling them that your idea is a good idea.
Yeah, Steve.
The people like that.
He
Come on.
understands.
What are you supposed, if you come to me and you ask me, is it a good idea to wear a winter coat when it's 90 degrees? And I tell you, no, it ain't a good idea. Then you walk away. Or if, you know what I'm talking about?
I get what you're saying.
I'm just saying yes or no to their idea. I'm not telling them how I'm going to vote, just yes or no. And you're saying you can't do that? That limits us to any conversations about anything.
No, we're talking specifically about land use cases.
I know that. Any kind of conversation concerning land use that completely takes everything out of the picture, and a person that doesn't know needs just a little direction. Do I like it? Do I not like it?
Perhaps maybe the answer is, hey, you should
And
discuss that.
I'm
plan
not
instead.
saying how you vote. That's the important thing. You never
Okay,
tell them
Steve,
how you're going to vote.
We
So,
understand.
I'm asking, Jim, can you ask Joe to get me a written legal opinion on an idea can't be discussed with a constituent?
I don't know what Jennifer has anything to do with it, but
Well, Jennifer
what a-
probably agrees with me.
well, I think a lot of us do, Steve. A lot of us do. We do want to
I
talk
mean,
to
I think
constituents.
this is stupid.
All right.
I never heard such stupid things that you can't talk to somebody about an idea.
Okay. All right. Sherry Williams, Leader Williams has not had a chance to speak. Let's make your closing question.